Good, hey, how are you?
Sorry, I'm mid-type. Nice to meet you. I think we've met before. It's been quite a while. Caitlin Phelps. No, that's your intro.
Those are our throwdown cards.
Yeah, we try, yeah, that's like our.
This is me getting run away.
Yeah, this is like, you want to complain, this is.
Yeah.
Hey, Serena. So it should have the
They're still getting in. I think one of the stations showed up.
What are we doing? Line up, just line up behind.
Hey, put the primary two detectives.
Y'all cover down. Yep, plenty of room down here, so appreciate it, guys. Hey, boss.
You gotta jump over here. Slide down. I need somebody tall and friendly. We don't need that.
I know.
We don't need enough, but I'm good. There's a guy I'm seeing with us that day.
Everybody have their cell phones off?
Come here, man.
Yes, that's the double check. That's a good idea to double check.
Right next to that.
You come on all the way down. Do you stand here? You should have Dean stand there. Or Dennis, that's good. Put the chicken.
Here, I'll give them back later. You can time them up. You can time them up.
$400 shot.
You can time them up. Did you want to? Did they work well? Really?
Hey, thanks for getting those guys on. I appreciate it.
Well, here. Scott. I just don't want anything to happen to him.
I'll wait for the media in the back, make sure they're ready to roll. I know they're still getting set up. Good. Wait on them. Good. Just give me a thumbs up in the back when you're ready. Good to go. My name is Chief Doug Wright, D-O-U-G-W-R-I-G-H-T, Chief of Police for Summerville Police Department. This morning we'll be discussing a shooting that we had that was a tragic ending of murder on January the 9th, 2026. Summerville Police Department responded to about 8:33 in the morning to the Sonic Drive-In on Dorchester Road. It's 9920 Dorchester Road, a reference to a shooting. At approximately 8:35 a.m., 2 officers arrived on scene and began assisting a United States Customs and Border Protection agent and a nurse who were already on scene rendering aid to the shooting victim. The victim was suffering from a gunshot wound to his torso and also to his forearm, and was later pronounced dead on scene, identified as Kymani Jaden Antonio Baker, 18, of Summerville, South Carolina. With paramedics removing his clothing to render aid, a firearm was located on the victim. At 8:43 a.m., Summerville Police Department's detectives and crimes unit arrived on scene to begin investigation. Initial reports indicated the 2 vehicles had fled the scene, but they were ruled out as being suspects very quickly. Officers interviewed witnesses who described the suspect as fleeing on foot. Police canine units from the Summerville Police Department, the North Charleston Police Department, the Dorchester County Sheriff's Office, and the Charleston County Aviation Unit provided search assistance to our agency. During a canine track for the suspect, it was determined that he fled along a trail adjacent to Eagle Creek and Ladson Road. Despite not finding the suspect, officers and canines located vital evidence discarded by the suspect. On Saturday, January the 10th, detectives recanvassed the area with the assistance of Dorchester District 2 Weapons Detection Canine Chester with his handler, Officer Gamba. During a forensic, and they located a firearm in close proximity of the rear of the Sonic area. During a forensic interview, it was determined that this was the murder weapon and was reported stolen weeks before. Several police department detectives expanded their investigation to another incident which was reported on Wednesday, January the 7th, 2026 at North Charleston. Police department was regarding a shooting that involved suspects occurred at the Marco's Pizza at 9500 Dorchester Road, where the victim Baker was also employed. Several police detectives continued to investigate, interview potential witnesses, and gather physical and forensic evidence that led them to discover the victim Baker's residence was allegedly burglarized on Friday, December 23rd, 2025. And the shooting occurred at a residence in Lansing involving the victim Baker and a student from the Marco's shooting. The Summerville Police Department was in immediate contact with the North Charleston Police Department while they were on the scene of the Sonic murder. This collaboration was instrumental for the North Charleston Police Department being able to take 3 suspects into custody for the shooting investigation at Marco's Pizza. On Thursday, January the 15th, 2026, the Summerville Police Department established enough probable cause to obtain arrest warrants for 19-year-old Anthony Prelo of Summerville, South Carolina. His name is Anthony Prelo. His charges will be murder, possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. On Friday, January the 16th, 2026, Summerville Police Department, along with the assistance of the Dorchester County Sheriff's Office, executed a search warrant in Ladson where vital evidence was located that aided our investigation. It was then that the Summerville Police Department learned that the suspect, Anthony Prelo, had departed South Carolina for Washington, D.C. With the assistance of Homeland Security Investigations, the United States Marshal Service Task Force, it was determined that Prelo obtained a passport in Washington, D.C. and had traveled from Washington, D.C. to New York City to JFK's airport, where he boarded an international flight to Bali, Indonesia. The United States Marshal Service, with their counterparts in Bali, worked with the Indonesian immigration authorities, whom were standing by for Prelo upon his arrival at Jakarta, Indonesia airport. When he disembarked from the aircraft, allegedly, he fled on foot but was apprehended very soon and taken into custody. Anthony Prelo is currently incarcerated in Indonesia right now, and we would like to continue to tell everybody that we are still actively investigating this case, running down leads every single day. We'd also like to thank many of our counterparts who assisted in this investigation. The North Charleston Police Department, with their aid, also with us collaborating, I think they were able to close 3 of their cases that they were working that were serious, all felonies in nature. I have the North Charleston Police Department investigators here that were key individuals involved in that case for their investigation as well as ours. The Dorchester County Sheriff's Office, who's also present, the Charleston County Sheriff's Office, the Berkeley County Sheriff's Office, the Hanningham Police Department, the United States Marshal Service Task Force, the United States Homeland Security Investigations, United States Customs and Border Protection, Dorchester County Coroner's Office, Dorchester County EMS, and Dorchester District 2 Schools, obviously for the assistance with K-9 Chester. I'll now be open to answer any questions you may have.
What was the relationship between Prelow and Baker?
We don't know that there is a relationship. We do believe this was a targeted attack, that he was targeted while he was working at Sonic that morning.
Do we know anything else about the motivation between the burglaries and the Marcos?
We don't know at this time, but I think there's a lot of commonalities that would lead us, or the common person, to believe that there was definitely some type of tie, whether it was retaliatory or whether it was just done as a random attack. We don't know, but we are still working that out. We're going to figure those things out, certainly.
And you said the victim had a gun on him at the time of the shooting.
He did. That weapon was also stolen as well. And whether he was using that for self-protection or whatnot, it was on him in his possession when he was found deceased. Yes, ma'am.
Does Mr. Prelow have a criminal history?
He's pretty young. I'm pretty sure he does. I don't have that right here in front of me, but I think he does. But he definitely will now.
Expecting any other suspects to be charged?
Excuse me?
Expecting any suspects additional to be charged?
The ongoing investigation is still going. I can tell you right now that no stones being left unturned, that there is a possibility that there could be more people that are going to be placed under arrest in this case.
How often, how rare is it for you guys to have something that goes international like this?
Very rare, and that's why we're having a press conference, because normally, 2 years ago, we had upwards between 7 homicides and 10. It was the most violent year we ever had in the town of Summerville's history. And then we, along with our proactive policing and efforts from our detective division and our street officers, last year had 0 homicides, which was the first time ever in the history of this town, at least since I've been here. In the past almost 3 decades, we haven't had a homicide in a year. So this particular incident, because a lot of people have been asking in the community what's going on, it was a very high-profile case in the beginning because it happened at a family restaurant where most of us, if not all of us, have taken our family for ice cream. So I think that made it much more complicated and a higher probability that we need to get this information out. But he has been incarcerated for quite some time. We were just not able to reveal it because we are working with their government to try to get his secure return back to the United States with U.S. Marshals.
When was he arrested?
He was arrested back, well, he was taken into custody by Indonesian officials. I think I put in here, it was mid-January. I'll tell you this, when he left from here, he was 16 hours ahead of us, okay? And we were able to, if he had gotten out of the airport, it's very likely we would have never seen Mr. Prelow. Right now, he's confined indefinitely in Indonesia. As far as I'm concerned, that's all I know. I can tell you that it's above our level. When I tell you this, it's the United States Marshal Service working with their government to do what they can do to secure his return back. I can also tell you by reports that I've read that the Indonesian jail is 300% overcrowded. It's not conducive to what we're used to here in the United States for living environment in a corrections facility.
What's the extradition process from Indonesia to the United States?
I'm sure that the United States government's already involved in that. They're briefing us when they can with what they can, but it's at the highest level that I can tell you that I know of. It's just that it's the wheels of justice go much slower when you go into locations that there's not a treaty or an impact or some type of written agreement between us and that country, the United States and that country, to have somebody return. So there is conversations, I'm sure, taking place, and we're not privy to those conversations. As far as we're concerned, and I guess Indonesia's concerned, he is their problem right now, certainly since he ran from them as well. So I don't know what the consequences are in their country for those actions.
Talk to us about the correlation between the Sonic shooting and the Marcos shooting.
You guys have anything you want to add to that? This is North Charleston investigator. You tell them whatever you want to tell them about your case.
Morning. I'm Detective Robinson, North Charleston Game Unit. So we responded to the Sonic shooting because the victim was the same. Suspects from the Marcos shooting were different than the suspect from the Sonic shooting, but collaborating with Summerville and their detectives, we were able to figure out who those guys were and able to get all 3 into custody.
So all the shooting suspects at this time are in custody?
Correct.
Do we know if those who returned fire in the Marcos incident?
From what we understand, he did not return fire.
What exactly happened there? I admit I don't remember. What exactly happened during the Marcos shooting? Was anybody hurt?
Fortunately, nobody was hit, but they did shoot at him, hitting the building at Marcos, scared a bunch of the employees, so we were able to get on it pretty quick.
Do you have access to the video cameras inside of Marcos that we could get copies of?
I don't know if you can get copies of them. We do have access to some of the things inside, but the incident took place outside of the Marcos.
I'd like to try to get those from you.
Sounds good.
What I can tell you, thank you, Detective. The correlation obviously is that Baker was an alleged victim in the Marcos shooting, as well as the victim of the Sonic shooting. There was an alleged burglary that took place at his house on Christmas, a day before Christmas Eve, the 23rd, where items were stolen from that residence. The shooting that occurred in Ladson a few days later may have been retaliatory. We don't know, because we never identified anybody other than Baker was involved with that, and so was one of their suspects in the Marcos shooting.
Do we know what items were stolen?
I do not. I think there was some delay in reporting that, if they did even at all, to the sheriff's office. But I know that we, along with the sheriff's office, did what we could and continue to do what we can to earn the cooperation of the people involved, the victims with that burglary.
Has the victim's mother been notified of these?
Yes, I spoke with both the mom, both myself, and this is Detective Woods and Detective Thompson. They're both the leads on this case. Myself and Detective Woods spoke with the mom and the father, mother and father of the deceased last week, and we did inform them of the incarceration of the suspect. We did not identify who he was at the time, so they're hearing that today for the first time. But they were advised that he is in Indonesia, and that there's an infinite time. We don't know quite yet when he will be coming back to the United States.
What type of message does it send? You guys literally went to the other side, or had teamwork go to the other side of it?
Yeah, it's a good point. The collaboration is second to none. What I can tell you is I think people watch television, they watch television shows, they watch a lot of capers and whatnot, and I don't think they believe quite how fast law enforcement can function and operate. It truly is the long arm of the law. You know, people use that analogy, but you know, when you have embedded task force officers that are assigned to these task forces, and you have such a unique bond that we have with our local agencies, like the ones I named previously, it's a phone call, and then the phone call goes to the next. And I can tell you, from the moment we found out that he had left for Washington, D.C., we were already on the horn with HSI and the U.S. Marshals and to find out where he was. And at the time, he again was about 12 hours ahead of us. They were able to determine he was in the air, in flight, on the way to Indonesia, and us being able to have that collaboration with our counterparts, the Marshals. They have the ability to work anywhere in the world, and so they have a jurisdiction unlike most, if any. So they have Marshals that are on the ground in Indonesia as well. So it's a phone call, and it's some email and some text message back and forth that makes those type of things happen. But what I can tell you is we work like one agency when we all come together, and we've shown that several times in the past couple of years and before. So we're really proud of that. I think that the main reason we wanted to have this press conference was to bring closure to a lot of people who knew Kymani, people who worked with him, his family certainly, and then we want the public to know that there's no fear, they're not in danger right now, and so we want to get this information out as quickly as possible. We did not want to hinder the process of him getting back to the United States from Indonesia.
The young man was how old, pre-law?
19.
All right, so he was able to get away undetected, go to Washington D.C., get a passport, and fly internationally. Do you think anybody else was involved in helping him?
I can't answer that at this time, but I can tell you that we're looking at all people who aided and or abetted in this case. What I can tell you I found highly unusual is that you can go to a passport office and get a temporary passport for 2 weeks, and that's what he did. He drove and paid for a passport that allowed him to travel for 2 weeks. Unfortunately, his 2 weeks are up.
Is this Summerville's first homicide of the year?
This is our first and hopefully our last of the year, but we were 5 days into the year. We made it all last year without one, which, again, Hail Mary to that, but we are really good at solving our crimes here, especially homicides.
How do you spell Mr. Prelo's last name?
We're gonna give you a press package when we're done. It'll have everything you need. If you look up on the screen there, that is Mr. Prelo. That is after he was apprehended by Indonesian customs and their police. And in the press package, I'm gonna give you a media outlet that actually provided that picture. That picture circulated pretty quick. We know that some people found out about this picture because people were doing Google and Siri searches, but we want to provide this as a picture of Prelo. Again, he has not been arraigned yet. He has not had his warrants read for his arrest yet in the United States. He's being held on their charges there, and that is why it's really out of the hands of the Summerville Police Department at this time, what happens to Mr. Prelo.
What charges is he facing in Indonesia?
I have no idea. I can't speak on Indonesian law, but what I could tell you is they're very strict there. And they're much more strict than we are in the United States when it comes to how they handle out punishment and confinements.
Detective, you mentioned being involved with a gang unit.
Yes, sir.
Do you suspect this crime was gang related?
Some of the suspects in our shooting are gang members, which is why we were tasked with this case.
Do you know if the victim was a gang member?
At this time, we haven't had any suspicion of him being a gang member or anything to validate him as a gang member.
And can you enumerate the charges that Mr. Prelo is facing?
Murder, and he'll be charged with possession of a firearm during the commission of a violent crime. That'll also be in the press package. What I want to do for real quick, though, is I want to talk about Mr. Baker, the victim. You know, despite you hearing that he was involved in some previous incidents, that does not mean he did anything wrong whatsoever. Clearly, he was a victim in our case. He was a victim in the Marcos shooting case. And yes, he did have a firearm on him that was stolen. But I can also tell you, this young man was not out in the streets. He was working 2 jobs. He worked at Marcos Pizza and he worked at Sonic trying to make a living. And that's honorable. And I must tell you, something I wish I would see more young people do in this day and age is to keep themselves off the streets, is to get out there and be involved, have a job, get involved with your community. But it's really a sad situation here. I know it was originally said that the Border Patrol was involved, and this is obviously a poor timing with everything with the ICE news, but it actually was a United States Customs and Border Protection agent who was getting coffee next door, who heard the gunshots in uniform, ran over and began to render aid along with the nurse who was not on duty, who was there at the Sonic, who was well, doing everything they could to try to save his life. And I didn't know where the nurse left to, but I had the opportunity to introduce the father of Baker to the agent. And that was a very special moment for him to know that his son did not die alone, that he had 2 people at his side that were there trying to save his life when he died.
The weapon was located behind the Sonic, correct?
It was in an area that was not seen because of the foliage, was not found the day before. And our main focus the day before was tracking the suspect. If any other collaterals came along for the canines that were found, that was because it was in the path of the track for the suspect. The recanvassing of the area, that was strictly to go back and look for evidence. And we made sure to employ Canine Chester because he is a weapons detection canine. It's a very rare dog in the area to have that could smell black powder. And he found the firearm very quickly.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
About the 2-week passport. So obviously it only lasts 2 weeks. So does that mean that he would need to come back to the U.S. within those 2 weeks? Would he have even been able to get back in if it was longer than that?
It's my understanding, and don't quote me, I've already said it, it's 2 weeks. It was a 2-week passport. Once the 2 weeks is up, you cannot re-enter the United States. If he's with the U.S. Marshal Service when he comes back, he does not need that. And that is our hopes. Any more questions? Again, we're going to provide a press package. I'd like to thank everybody for coming today, especially our officers, Summerville Police Department, North Charleston Police Department, Dorchester County Sheriff's Office. And again, I just want to thank everybody in the community for your support. We appreciate everybody calling in tips. We had a lot of tips coming in, and it's due to people in the community like yourselves that are watching this that want to make sure you're helping make and keep your community safe. Yes, Mr. Ross.
Were there any rewards issued, and if so, will anybody get any rewards?
No, sir, no rewards. We didn't get that far into it, but what I could tell you is the reward really goes to the outstanding police work that was done and the collaboration between agencies here. It was seamless. I could tell you that it was absolutely seamless. I appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good day.